Sean the Flock of Flock Fitness, and today I'm going to be showing you how these are going to be helping you to get these. Welcome back, guys, and I'm Sean the Flock of Flock Fitness, and if you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. Now, these here are called Parallettes. Now, don't ask me how to spell Parallette, but I know that these are an invaluable tool in the gymnastics and now the functional fitness world. What the Parallettes allow you to do is to select a lot of different exercises that are going to build upper body and core strength all in one. So I love seeing stuff like this because it's a lot of bang for buck. So if you give me a movement that's going to improve my upper body strength, my upper body flexibility, my core strength, my hip flexibility, I'm all in. Now today I'm going to show you how to get yourself a proper set of Parallettes, how to set them up, how to choose the exercises, the proper technique, and then finally, how to incorporate this into your workout. Now you see here, these are actually home-built Parallettes that I built myself for materials that I got at Home Depot for all of like $12 to $15. Some liquid cement, some Parallettes. I had to buy a hacksaw because I had to cut them myself. But I'll link down below in the description just a DIY setup that you can use in your own home. Now you can also buy Parallettes at gymnastics websites and also Amazon. I believe there's like a $30 pair of just basic set. They go all the way up to hundreds of dollars depending on the versatility, the size of what you're actually using. Now your Parallettes don't have to be fancy. In fact, you can use them with a set of dumbbells. So you see that I have a set of 25-pound dumbbells here, and that flat surface and the elevated handle is going to allow you to use these as Parallettes. Now the key here is that you don't want to be using dumbbells that are rounded. If they're rounded, they're going to be much more unstable and not going to be really safe. So do not use those, especially if you're a beginner. Now the issue is if your Parallettes are dumbbells, the height off the ground is going to make it so that this is going to be a much more difficult L-sit to achieve because of the height that your feet have to be off the ground. So if you're a little bit more advanced in the L-sit, these are perfectly fine. But if you're trying to do tucks, this is going to be really, really challenging for you. Now, another alternative to Parallettes would be a stack of books or plates. The drawback on the stack of books or plates is that it forces your hand position to be flat, and it puts a lot more strain through the wrist because when you're using the Parallette, the wrist is going to be much more neutral, maybe even a little bit bent back, but it's going to allow you to drive the force more through your forearm into your shoulder. If you're using something like a book, your wrist is going to have to bend back and there's going to be a lot more load through the wrist, and if you don't have flexibility through the wrist, it's going to make it a lot more challenging for you to be able to hold that good L-sit. So what you could do is you can take a couple boxes or a stack of books, and you can put your dumbbells on those stacks to give yourself that height off the ground. But remember, you don't want to have any instability in your setup because that is dangerous. Okay, so now that's out of the way, let's talk about the setup of your Parallettes. So when you're setting up your Parallettes, you want to have a roughly fist to elbow distance between the two Parallettes. So you kind of just size that up and you're good to go. Obviously, you can make micro adjustments based upon your size and flexibility, but that's pretty much the gold standard when it comes to setting up Parallettes. In terms of your positioning of your body, the biggest thing that I see as a fitness coach is that most people are in this flared rib cage, hyperextended position, which actually causes their shoulders to anteriorly tilt forward. This creates a lot of issues in the L-sit, and it actually limits the progress of the L-sit because without proper shoulder stability and core stability, it makes things like bringing your legs up higher, leaning forward, all the more difficult, and leads to compensations that potentially can lead to injury. So what I'm thinking about as I set up for my L-sit is that I want to start by establishing a good rib cage position. And if you've seen Flock Fitness before, you know that all starts with a nice, full, exaggerated exhale that allows us to turn on internal obliques and transverse abdominis and pull that rib cage into a more stable position to line up with our pelvis. This is so important when it comes to the L-sit because most people have issues with getting their legs off the ground. And let me show you why. If your rib cage is flared, your hips will naturally tilt forward to compensate. When your hips are tilted forward, there's no way that you can get that hip flexion. And most of the time what's going to happen is it's going to cause a lot of strain for the hip flexor instead of actually accessing your core. What we want to do instead is we're going to start with a nice exaggerated exhale. Now that I got that core on, I'm going to tuck my hips, I'm gonna make sure that my shoulders are down and back, nice and long, without letting the rib cage come up. And then from here, I'm gonna reach my elbows through, staying nice and tall. And this is my setup position for any kind of tuck or L-sit. This is what we want to achieve right away. And if we can get this honed in from the beginning, everything we do from there is going to be so much easier. So if you're a beginner in the L-sit, the first thing you really want to do is just practice establishing this position multiple times to get this the most comfortable position that could be. So one more time, we're going to start off with an exaggerated exhale, dropping the rib cage down, thinking not about six-pack abs, but these obliques. My hips tuck, my shoulders are down and back, and now I reach up through the shoulder, locking out the elbows and holding that position here. When you're practicing this initial position, you can do 3 to 5 sets of about 10 seconds each as either a warm-up, or if this is challenging for you, this could be part of your workout. Once we've established good rib cage, shoulder, and hip position, now it's time to start getting our feet off the ground. So what we want to be doing is, after we set up our good rib cage position, hip position, and shoulder position, is I'm going to try to tuck my knee into my chest as far as I can, continuing to reach and lock those elbows out. So now I'm going to pull up toward my chest, feeling that nice crunch to the lower abs, and then bring it back down. Now I can alternate from side to side. I'm gonna do probably sets of 5 to 10 here. And if you're doing this properly, you're gonna feel your lower abs working, not your hip flexors. If you're feeling your hip flexors, it's probably because your rib cage let go, your hips untucked, and now you're gonna be straining from the hip flexors instead of using those lower abs. Once you're able to do 3 sets of 5 to 10 reps, working on that knee tuck, now we're gonna go into a leg extension. So from here, we get good shoulder, rib cage, and hip position. I'm gonna bring one leg out in front. And now from here, I'm just gonna work on picking that up as high as I can. And you'll notice, for me, I'm using my lower abs to initiate this exercise. We don't wanna let the rib cage come forward. We don't wanna allow the hips to untuck. And that's a great way to start establishing a good straight-legged L-sit position. Once you've mastered 3 sets of 10 reps in that straight leg lift, it's time to get both feet off the ground. We start with a good shoulder position, rib cage position, and hip position. And now we're gonna pull both feet up off the ground, trying to drive our knees into our chest as far as we can. On this exercise, we wanna be holding for 5 to 10 seconds for 3 to 5 sets. The gold standard here is to be able to do 5 sets of 10 seconds in that tuck position before we move forward. You've got your tuck position nailed. It's time for us to start progressing to the L-sit. We're gonna do this one leg at a time. I'm gonna reach through my shoulders, pull my knees into my chest, and now from here, I'm gonna extend one leg at a time. A great starter for this is 3 sets of 5 to 10 reps per side to master this position. Just a quick note as we're doing our L-sit. We want to try and get our knees as straight as possible with our toes pointed. Not only is that going to allow you for a more aesthetically pleasing position, it's going to force those quads and abs to work simultaneously in order for you to hold that spot. Once you're able to do 5 sets of 10 reps per side, it's time to progress to the L-sit. Now when we're doing our L-sit, I like to start off with my shoulders down and back, rib cage down, hips tucked, and now I'm going to go ahead and pull from those abs and hold that position there. You'll notice that my legs are straight, my shoulders are down and back, and that's my L-sit position. Now for me personally, this is where I stop and I hone in on good technique. 5 sets of 10 seconds on each set is where I call it a day. The reason why I'm not trying to expand that any further than that is that if I try to go further out than 10 seconds, usually my form breaks down. What I don't want to be doing here is instilling bad technique when it comes to the L-sit. I'll keep my sets shorter, but do more sets in order for me to increase the volume when it comes to the L-sit. Guys, the L-sit is such an awesome exercise, and there's been people who said if you could hold a 2-minute L-sit, you're pretty much good to go when it comes athletically. And that is my goal personally, is to be able to get a 2-minute L-sit. Now my max ever is about 30 seconds, so I got a bit of ways to go, just like you guys probably are watching here. If you guys want to work on your L-sit at home with me, email me at sean@flockfitness.com, where we do at-home personal training via Zoom, remote programming, and nutrition. You can visit us at www.flockfitness.com for more great content. Guys, if you found this entertaining or you learned something, make sure you leave a comment below, like it, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time with another episode from Flock Fitness. Have a great day, guys.